there. So sorry for the lack of videos for the last few months. It's just been crazy busy. I haven't had much time, but I have a little bit more time, so I'll get back on track and start to record these a little bit more. So today I want to talk about breaking cycles in relationships, and this is more geared for single people who just find that they keep ending up in the same shitty relationship over and over, and they want to take control of that. They want to find out why they're ended up in this relationship and what they can do to change it going forward. And I find at the moment I'm actually working with a lot of single people. So my clients are really kind of mid to late 30s, and a lot of women specifically as well. And again, they have that pattern of falling into relationship with guys who are emotionally distant, and they want to find out why and what they can do to stop the process. So I have this 3-step process I work through with them, but the first thing I do before we even gone through the process is I get them to stop feeling sorry for themselves. And I have another video about self-pity. Self-pity is such a disabling emotion, and it really doesn't propel change. It doesn't move us forward. It keeps us stuck. It kind of propagates the cycle of dysfunction, and it also deeply affects our own sense of self-worth and self-esteem. And that's the foundation of all our relationship choices. So I have to get them to really stop feeling sorry for themselves, stop kind of repeating this pattern of self-talk, or why does this always happen to me? It's not fair. It doesn't happen to other people. And this is, again, it doesn't make any positive change in their life. And really, I'm trying to find objectivity in a relationship, and this is very hard, especially if we're so emotionally enmeshed in it. It's one of the reasons why therapy can be effective, because we are objective. We're not emotionally entangled in this relationship, so we can kind of have an outsider's view looking in and help people actually be much more objective about what happened in the relationship and what they could have done to change it. So the first actual step in trying to resolve relationship choices is really mapping out the whole relationship from start to end, and especially at the start. And I really want to get a sense of what was happening in my client's life just before they met this person. Now, maybe life was fine, maybe they were happy and they were free, and they were just, this person just happened upon them, and they were attracted to this person. But often with my clients, they were quite lonely at the time, and especially as they were getting a little bit older, maybe their friends were settling down, they're having kids, getting married, or anything else, and it's very hard to not compare ourselves or live our lives through the lives of other people. And again, they start to put a huge pressure on themselves that maybe I should be settling down now. And this is particularly true for my clients who are mid to late 30s. They feel the pressure of their body clock, and they're getting a little bit older, and they're conscious that, you know, they might want to start a family, but they feel like it might be a little bit too late for them. And again, that has to stop, but it's important to get to the root of that pressure they're putting on themselves. And then you can understand, well, why did they end up in relation? What was it that they were drawn to in this person? You know, this person walks in, maybe it was a physical attraction, maybe they just thought they fancied them, maybe it was personality, maybe they were attracted by the person's sense of humour, by their attitude to life, maybe they were very driven, and maybe that can be very attractive as well. Or maybe you had mutual hobbies. Maybe there was things that you both liked. It could be sport, it could be travelling, it could be reading, it could be anything. So again, it's just to get a sense of what you're looking for in your relationship. Then the third thing is, and this is probably the most important, is start to look for the red flags. And in any relationship that's not really working out, these red flags, they actually present themselves very early on, but people ignore them. So a red flag could be that you're making more of an effort in the relationship and the other person isn't. So maybe you're the one instigating phone calls or text messages or making dates, and maybe the other person isn't. Or maybe further down the relationship, again, you find that you're more emotionally invested in the relationship and the other person isn't. You may find that maybe there are these little mini power struggles in the relationship in terms of criticizing each other, putting each other into boxes, you know, and even if you're relaying information or sharing something about yourself and you find that the other person isn't, because they're fearful of judgment, and that little moment of judgment, even though they can seem quite small, they build up and they become very minor but very significant power struggles, and it's very unhealthy, and it's not something that we should keep going forward. But another thing as well, you may find that miscommunication is a big problem as well. And let's say that you're just not gelling, there's lots of cross wires, and you're cracking a joke but the other person isn't laughing, they're getting a little bit frustrated by you or stressed by you. Again, that's a red flag, and it can't be ignored, but very often it is ignored. The second step is actually trying to identify what did they learn from their relationship. So what did they learn about themselves in terms of what they're prepared to tolerate? Because we do tolerate a lot, and that's part of being in any relationship. You know, we're not all going to be in good form all the time. We're not all going to express ourselves in a nice, open and direct way. We have to decide what we're prepared to tolerate, what we're prepared to not tolerate. And this is one of the few benefits of being involved in a toxic relationship, is that we discover what we're actually going to accept in a relationship. And you kind of have to decide now, well, I'm not going to accept that anymore in any of my future relationships. Another thing is deciding how long they're prepared to stay in this relationship. And again, I think that the single biggest regret that my clients have, especially the single clients now, is that they stayed in the relationship for way too long. They wish they broke out, they left it much earlier on. So again, you need to decide now what your cut-off point is, how far you're prepared to go forward if the relationship isn't working out. And then you have to decide, are you going to drive change moving forward? So less time you end up in another relationship, and again there's these miscommunications, maybe there's been a minor power struggles, or maybe just not quite getting on. There's a term I heard quite recently called hopium, and people suffer from, or they're taking too much hopium, and it's been described as like a drug where they're hoping that things will get better, and they're not actually prepared to take any action. And from my experience, visible action counters blind faith. You shouldn't have blind faith in a relationship. You need to be constantly both sides of the party taking visible action to make the relationship work. And if that's not happening, then maybe it's time to step back and either assess the relationship or walk away from it. And then the third step is the process of rebuilding. And really it's about rebuilding self-worth and self-esteem. So when they're ready to start a new relationship, it's from a different plateau. It's a much more steadier foundation. So that way that we makes much more, again, more objective decisions, but decisions based out of self-worth and not out of neediness. And again, there's different things that interfere with that. And I think in terms of building self-worth, the first thing is start to build up energy inside ourselves, because relationships are draining and they're emotionally draining. And I think, again, a lot of my clients, and especially, again, the guys who are mid to late 30s, that thoughts of going out and going on dates and meeting new guys or new girls and starting from scratch, it's very daunting, and some people just don't have the energy for it. So I get them to pull back and take the pressure off that, but do work on exercising, eating well, spending time around friends, and just building up their energy levels and learning to relax, which is very important as well. And once they're in that place, they might find that they have a little bit more energy to go out and start a new relationship, or at least going on dates, because it's time consuming, it's energy consuming, and it's difficult now being single in the way society is, and internet dating and everything else. There's so many people that the grass is always greener. This type of mentality interferes with people committing and settling down. And it is difficult, and I empathise with anyone who is single now, because I can only imagine it's particularly hard, and it's very hard to meet someone who is prepared to settle down. But then again, another thing I said it before, is about stop comparing your life to other people. And often people do live their lives through other people, so they see their friends and their family settling down, having kids and all the rest, and it just puts this huge pressure. And again, it means that it's a really bad starting point to start a new relationship. All of a sudden, again, it creates this codependent need, or I need to get going now, I need to start this family now because the clock is ticking, and that's bullshit. And I understand it, it's a very real fear, but it's no good. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to bring you the partner that you need. So you need to knock that shit on the head right now. Take the pressure off and just learn to value yourself for who you are. And then that last step is then learning to build your own self-worth. And the way we do that is, first of all, understand what are you bringing to the relationship. And I find people devalue their own strengths and their own characteristics that they bring to a relationship. For example, one client I'm working with now, she's very empathetic. She's a huge amount of compassion for people, but she's ended up in a relationship with guys who don't value that, who are so caught up in themselves that they don't actually appreciate the love that she's prepared to give. And I guarantee you, she will find the right person that thinks she's amazing because she's so thoughtful and so generous and so giving, but it's finding the right person. But I think also ask themselves, do they feel like they deserve a relationship? Do they deserve a good relationship? And this is often the biggest challenge, that the people feel like, well, I don't feel like I deserve a good relationship, because what's happening is they're bringing all the baggage from their past relationships and all the mistakes that they made or they didn't make or anything else. They keep bringing into this present relationship, and they carry that in. We have to let go of this baggage. And I keep saying this over and over. We all have baggage. We've all made mistakes. We've all done stupid things at different points in our life. We can't just keep bringing that into our present relationships. We have to resolve them and let go of them, and understand that this is just part of being human. We're going to mess up. Let it go, and then bring in this new person into their life, and then and share what you want to share. I'm working with a girl at the moment, and she's been sharing all her mistakes from her past into this relationship, and because she has that fear of judgment, and she has that need of the approval and love of other people to permit her to let go of her mistakes. Again, it's the wrong starting point in relationship. And thankfully now, with the work that we're doing, she's not oversharing anymore. She's only really giving dribs and jabs of what is relevant. And if any mistakes that she made in her past relationship, it's no one's business. It's not my business. It's not anyone in business in our relationships going forward. And thankfully, she's starting to resolve that, and she's starting to let go of her past mistakes. But it's a tough process, and it takes time to build self-esteem. It's why I built my online course, the Self-Esteem Blueprint, because I want to give people a process that they can do themselves, because not everyone can come to therapy, not everyone has the time. So that's it. If you're in the same shitty cycle of relationships, it's hard to be optimistic and have hope and have faith that you will find the right relationship, but you will. It just, don't be hopeful, or don't kind of wait for it to happen. You do have to create the scenario. You have to put yourself out there, but before you do that, you need to bring it home. You need to work on your own self-esteem and build yourself up until you're actually ready for that relationship. And it may happen now, it could be months, it could be a year down the road, but you need to be patient. And patience is a virtue. It's a very difficult virtue, even for me. And you know, I get impatient with myself from time to time, but we have to learn to be much more human with ourselves, much more softer on ourselves, and be patient with ourselves. So that's it, guys. I went on for a bit there. Please don't be afraid to share this video if you know someone it might help, and I will see you in the next video and talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye bye.